Meeting. I call this meeting to order at 6:30. We'll do roll call.
Alderman Schmiegel.
Here.
Alderman DiBernardo.
Here.
Alderman Zarzilka.
Here.
Alderman Tyler.
Here.
President Pecoraro.
Present.
Also present is Mayor Arthur Pappas and City Attorney Luke Brown.
At this time, Mr. Mayor, would you like to make any opening comments?
Nothing at this time, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. To move the evening along, I have some opening comments I'd like to make. Blockchain technology is more than just cryptocurrency. Blockchain technology is the future. It is really the new frontier. And we shouldn't discount any opportunity like this if it comes to North Tonawanda.
Who paid for that?
Excuse me, thank you. In the 90s, if a company called Google or Yahoo came here and asked to place their servers in our city and we irrationally said no, how would we feel today? I don't want to see something like that occur, but that's why we're here this evening, and to get the facts directly from Digihost to determine what is our best course of action. I would like to say that we're going to abide by the following rules of engagement. We're going to have the presentation done by Digihost first. Please don't ask or interrupt them during their presentation, please. You'll be given plenty of opportunity to question them afterwards. We're going to ask North Tonawanda residents to give their comments first, and we want you to come to the microphone and state your name and address, and you'll be allowed 3 minutes total to address. Please don't ask a question if it's already been answered, just so we can keep the evening moving forward. You can also provide your opinion for or against the project, and we will continue to accept questions online through our North Tonawanda database if you have any questions that occur to you after this presentation and after this evening's session. So without further ado, we will adjourn the council to the chambers, to the council chambers, and we will let Digihost take over. Michelle, go ahead and program over to you.
The sound on the Facebook doesn't work right now.
Set it up. Give it a minute.
Hello everyone. As we set up the slides, I would like to give you a little bit of background where we come from and who founded and created Digihost. So the founders are myself and Alec, my son. I read a few comments on Facebook, so I want to address it in my introduction. I was born in France, Lyon, gastronomic city. I moved here in New York City 30 years ago. I got married in '92, got my son in '95. I've been in the fashion and real estate business all my life. I own a few brands like BCBG and BB, maybe you heard about it. And I didn't want my son to be in the fashion industry. And my son that attended USC in California and then MIT for blockchain, the top school now offering these programs of blockchain, MIT, Harvard, all the top schools. And my son at the early age, 15, 16, wanted to be involved in blockchain, believing it was the future. Therefore, we decided to start. And as I'm bi-coastal, I live in LA and I live in New York, I asked my son where would be the best place to start this blockchain cloud computing. And he studied and he said we should be next to the hydro power plant, the biggest in the country, Niagara Falls, 2,000 megawatts. So we have green energy. And we started our business actually 5 years ago in North Tonawanda. And we contracted Tom Brady, who is here present. He was across the street from our farm. And Tom Brady did all the electrical work 5 years ago. And then we moved to Buffalo, South Buffalo. We moved to the Axle plant, and Tom Brady did all the work there as well, along with Ferguson. So we worked a couple of years with Tom. His work was impeccable, good quality, great relationship. And when I recall that we were in North Tonawanda, I called Tom and I said, Tom, come tonight and let's try to do some more work because your work was exceptional. And I'm very proud to show his work in our farm in the Axle factory. So now that I give you a little bit of background, we are a public company. Our operation is 100% in the US. We are in different stock markets. We are in US stock market. We're going to be uplisted to the NASDAQ. We are in the TSX Canada, and we are in the German stock market. We have 3 markets. In the last 6 months, we raised capital to grow our businesses. And our first focus as we get to the NASDAQ is to be ESG compliant. Environment, social, governance compliant. If you want to be on the NASDAQ, you have to. But besides that, our intent always has been to be very green and socially responsible. We publicly disclosed our source of energy last quarter and last year, and we are over 90% green, 0 emission, because we use most of the power from hydropower from the grid. So, to jump to, we can put the next slide. To jump to the next subject, this is the introduction. We raised about $70 million in the last 100 days. It's a booming business. Top companies have adopted blockchain. I'll name a few: Walmart, IBM, Microsoft, FedEx. And the reason that they are using blockchain, it's much more reliable than other forms of data storage. It also tracks all your food supplies. So if you want to buy food from a local producer, blockchain is the solution. Also, besides the top 10 big companies, sometimes people have think it's a political issue, and it's not. In my view, it's bipartisan. Both Democrats and Republicans are for the future in blockchain. A few months ago, the new mayor from New York City, Erie Ave, publicly said that he will welcome any blockchain Bitcoin company. And I want to expand on the blockchain and what is blockchain. Blockchain is not being greedy and going to get Bitcoins. I want to state that I work for this company for $0 salary. Okay, I'm not working, and I'm the biggest shareholder of the company. Blockchain is the future, and one of the initiatives that we started, I was just in Europe a few weeks ago, and we all know with this vaccine passport that's happening out there, that there's a lot of talk about a vaccine passport, and we don't know if the people are vaccinated or not. And already in New York City, they are starting to impose a passport. So we did an initiative with biotech. It's a big company that does vaccine in Europe. And we are putting on blockchain every individual that has been vaccinated. So we can track who's vaccinated. Blockchain has one big advantage: it's immutable. So, very big advantage. Now, one that's really crucial: the third cause of death in the US after cancer and heart diseases is medical errors. And medical errors comes from bad input of data. And blockchain will 100% stop that, will save millions of lives. And that comes to the income. We are here to stay. We're not here to be a fly-by-night operation. We are here to stay because we are part of a decentralized network that will help validate, authenticate the data, the smart contracts, and so on. I have a lot of references that I will put available for you guys on the website if you want to look at it. So, what can we do locally to make ourselves friendly? So first, we want to be green, and we want to keep on being green. And I would like to invite Nick at some point, or Luc. Luc is our Chief Renewable Officer, Energy Officer. Both Luc and Nick are local. They are both from Buffalo, correct?
Correct.
Nick is our inside the council, and Luc is our Chief Renewable Energy Officer. 95 or 97% of our employees are local. And we tend to hire 20 to 30 people directly. And one thing you have to understand, when you touch blockchain, this is the highest paid job in the country today. Whoever touches blockchain gets paid 3 or 4 times any other jobs. So whoever we train and become technician of blockchain, they have a very highly paid salary and a very bright future. So, Luc, you want to talk about a little bit the energy? What's our plan?
Sure. Yeah.
I will also add that one of the big plus in our operation in Axle factory last week, if you remember, there was a heat wave. It's very hot now. Put the shirt. Take the shirt off. It's very hot. So last week there was a heat wave, and we have a response on demand contract with National Grid, and they can witness. At any moment, they call, we turn off all our servers, and we make power available to the community. And that happened last week, the entire week, every day. We don't care about the loss of hashing, it doesn't matter. We sign a contract with National Grid that anything, as soon as they need for extreme weather situation that they need our power, it's available instant. So now, you would want to know, is it valuable to have more power than less power? Of course it is. So in Axel, for instance, we have 20 megawatt. They took the entire 20 megawatt to cope with the demand. As most of the major industrial factory or manufacturers are shut down in Buffalo, there's no more, National Grid cannot rely on power. And they need power plants to be there and be responsive and supply power as they need it. Another quick reference about electricity, and I read that in the Facebook, definitely the utility electricity will not go up if we exist. As we have a generation of power, it's dependent of the grid, 1. 2, as we supply the grid as they pleased, with no notice, same day, we have supply available. You know the supply and demand. When you have big supply available, price goes down. So your bill, we are protecting your bill will go down, will not go up as we exist. Luc, I'll let you talk about the initiative.
Sure, and I think it's on one of the last slides, the power
You
consumption.
have to go to the microphone because this is
Oh,
on
sure.
Facebook.
No worries.
Go ahead, please. Let's talk about the initiative. I know it's not in order, but...
Sure, yeah, and what Michel was speaking about is demand response. So it's when large users of electricity reduce consumption during peak periods of the grid. So once you know, in New York State, especially when New York City gets extremely hot and the power consumption goes up, they call on big users to reduce large sums of electricity, which reduces consumption and saves energy users money as well. So we participate in that at our East Delavan facility, which Michel said was 20 megawatts. So you're reducing that and bringing 20 megawatts online. And in aggregate, if you have a lot of users do that, it reduces consumption. The next one, which shows our consumption here. Yeah, so our sources of energy, and I think, Michel, you alluded to it, primarily from hydro, obviously. This is from Niagara Falls. We have an abundant source here, and that's why I think we located here in Western New York. And then the other major source is from nuclear. So the nuclear facilities up on Lake Ontario. So those are obviously zero emissions. So we're almost 50% renewable and over 90% zero emissions currently at our facilities, and we're looking to make that 100% through long-term anchor subscription to a community solar project as well. So that will add to our renewable energy uptake.
Look, what's the goal for New York by 2030?
By 2030, the goal in New York is to be 70% renewable, and right now we're just about 30% there, and contracted another 20% right now.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So to give you a little background, this is Dan from 40 Stars. In early March, we announced that we would acquire the power plant. That's almost 6 months ago. And we've been delayed every month because of, we had to do the plans, we did the plans, and people were a little bit skeptical about blockchain, wondering what it is. Blockchain is exactly like the internet in the 90s. Blockchain belongs to people. Blockchain does not belong to a company or to an individual. It's like internet. It's internet 3.0, the new version. So blockchain has been adopted, as I mentioned earlier, by most of 500 companies, the top companies, for good reasons, and the applications are unlimited. Real estate, medical, financial. So I have a funny story. When I came 20, 25 years ago, my mom is from Lyon and tried to support her and help her, and I used to send her money through Western Union. And when I sent $500 to her, I used to pay $50, $70 fee. And I said, how is it so expensive? So she would call me and she said, you sent me 500, I got only 420. And after PayPal came, PayPal was centralized, and blockchain created the decentralized peer-to-peer, person-to-person, anywhere in the world you can send money for close to free, cost you $1, okay, and you send, and you don't have to wait a Monday that it's open, the bank, you can do 24/7, Saturday afternoon, whenever you please. So there are a lot of financial advantages to use blockchain. Another one, and I'll name one of the senators, which is very, sometimes used to be against crypto, Elizabeth Warren, and now she's very pro-crypto, because she mentioned that when she deposed Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan, she told JP Morgan, she said, how did you rip off 5.4 billion last year, all these people? How did you do that? It's not fair. Via crypto, and she said we should use crypto and change entirely the banking system in the US. They've been ripping off people for many years. So there's a lot of positive on a macro level, and of course there's a lot of positive on a local level by bringing a lot of tax income. I'm sure our recent taxes are going to be a little bit up from our building of these cement pads and this structure we put on the cement pads. So this building we're going to build are going to cost us more money in real estate. You get more income. More income is good for the community. You can distribute it to schools or to the museum. I was very impressed by the Museum of Buffalo. They have an incredible project they're going, and I went to see the project, and it's really, I feel like this towns on this sector is really reviving. It's really beautiful. Beautiful architecture, beautiful food, great people. We are committed to hire all our people locally and create a R&D, a research and development center to educate people about blockchain. This is the future. And we want to be welcome. We are welcome in Buffalo. After 4 years, you can call National Grid, they'll tell you. You can call all the people we did business with, including Tom, that's, North Tonawanda resident. I don't know if you were born here, but were you born here? You will? Ah, okay, it's not the same. We want North Tonawanda. It doesn't count. So, anyway, so we are trying to do the right thing for the community. We're not here to, first of all, I'm not Canadian, I'm a US citizen. I brought my passport just to show you. I just came back from Paris, so no, because I read that I might be a Canadian, but I'm not. I'm a US citizen, and I have heavy accent. Sorry, I didn't lose it. But we are here to work with you, and we try to do the right thing. You know, we hire an architect, we put the plans, we try to do it, and talk to the people. We try to make sure that you're happy with it. You know, a lot of states are welcoming blockchain. Florida, you know, publicly, and Texas, and Wyoming, and North Dakota, so many states now are welcoming blockchain because they know it's the future. And even New York City, as I mentioned earlier, the upcoming mayor is welcoming because we know it's a future. And I'll talk about the fiat currency. If you keep your fiat currency in your wallet, I can promise you, okay, you will lose value. Every day you will lose value. Because your government is printing this, keeps on printing this paper, okay, and on one of the articles that I piled for you guys, banking system is using much more dirty energy than anything else. Okay, we at least I feel that blockchain is going to boost our motivation to develop green energy. Why? Because now with a power plant, our goal is to start with renewable, day one. So from 40 stars, we are committed to buy only renewable at the start to be 50%, and we have renewable energy contracts. Therefore, we are motivating these plants to take whatever, water waste, cow manure, or whatever is dirtying the planet, and they're going to these plants, and we are paying a premium for gas, and we are committed to it, to have renewable. So we are like the driver, because everybody points finger at us. They don't point finger at really other companies that have cloud computing, because who we are a cloud computing company. That's what we are, blockchain. We have servers, they are isolated in a beautiful brand new container, okay, and soundproof, you won't hear anything on the street outside the fence of the property. We're going to plant trees, to make sure it's pretty. It's going to be color coordinated, no weird colors. Everything is brand new. The transformers are brand new, so it's going to be aesthetically pretty. So no sound, aesthetically pretty, and there are programs now that we are trying to inspire ourselves from, like Facebook, where we can heat the community houses with the heat from the servers. So Facebook has done that, and I have also an article about it, where they heat up about 6,000 houses from their huge data center. We plan to do that for the community. We have excess heat, we don't need it, we'll do that. We do that, by the way, today at Axel factory. We are giving all our heat to our neighbor. So he doesn't need to buy gas and warm up 200,000 square feet of warehousing. That is getting the planet greener. So if you understand blockchain, or you're willing to be open about blockchain, you will see that we will accelerate green energy. Now, I'd like Nick to talk about the carbon emission. Where does it come from in majority? On the you have the slide, because it's important that you understand, that we all understand where it comes from and where we have to work on. Nick is from Buffalo also.
So this was actually research done by Alec Amar, the president of the company, but it's important when you're talking about carbon emissions to understand what you're actually fighting against. So in terms of carbon emissions by sector within New York State, you're really looking at about 46% of those emissions coming from transportation. Given that we all drove here today, that's probably not surprising. And given the fact that I drove here in a pickup truck today, it's definitely not surprising. The next largest sector is residential buildings. It's just a fact. We don't all have solar panels on our homes yet, and we're firing with natural gas in our homes, and it's just a fact. It's not a good or a bad thing, it's just a thing. 17% is coming from the generation of electric power. Commercial buildings generate another 13%, and the final 5% really comes from just industrial work. The important thing to remember is that the generation of electric power, 17% is the total. That's not broken down by different energy sectors within that. We actually saw earlier what sources of energy we're using at our Buffalo site. Under the DigiGreen initiative, our goal is to not be part of that 17%. And the only way we can do that is by working on these plants directly. By working on these plants directly and by creating a new funding opportunity and a new revenue stream on this plant, you actually gain the ability to join New York State in what they're trying to do. And you're also providing a constant source of power for the neighborhood around you. Now, as you're making transitions to renewables, you've seen that occasionally, sometimes there's mistakes. It gets a little bit cloudy here, hard for us to use solar. We can generate the energy needed to help bridge the gap until we are 100% renewable reliably. That's our goal, is to be part of the solution. And from day one, along with our Chief Renewable Energy Officer, we will be, as Michel has said.
So I will also mention a pilot program that we are waiting for a proposal from Nextera. It's a very large company, and we plan to do 5 megawatt hydrogen, which is really good for the environment. And I think that there are a lot of technologies today trying to cope with the environment. And it's exponentially improving. So we feel that by 2030 we'll be for sure long time carbon neutral or carbon negative. So that's what we're committing for. That's what New York is committing for 2050, I think, or 40, but we'll be there much earlier. And, you know, when we went to see 40 Stars, that plant, I asked the question to Tom and Dan from 40 Stars. I said, if we don't acquire that plant, are you going to close the plant or are you going to keep on going? And Dan, what was your answer?
At some point, we're going to close.
So they were running in the first 20 years, they run at 70-80% capacity. The last year, because of COVID, I'm assuming, in the last few years, they were 3% or a very small amount, losing the jobs. There's not a lot of plants that are making it around here. Bethlehem Steel, another very huge plant that closed down with 600 megawatts. So if all these plants keep on closing, the grid might not have enough power to deliver to the communities. And there is a gap between sustainable energy that we want to achieve, but we need more time. Today, the most reliable source of energy for the grid and for the communities is gas with renewable gas. That's the best energy until we have good batteries that can store power, but we're not there yet. Maybe 10, 15, 20 years from now. So we want to have an operation that's green. We are developing actually another application right now, and it's very, very big in California, the mobile sustainable home. Can you like move the slide? So, go ahead. So we are doing this project. I did that privately. I'm in real estate in California, and we did a project with the mayor downtown It was subsidized by the city of Los Angeles, and we are doing this beautiful container home that don't look like containers, by the way. They look gorgeous, but they are sustainable. Solar, powered by blockchain. It's an incredible zero emission, incredible new concept. And there's a lot of happening now in California. They're always a little bit, adventurous to new concepts. But we are developing that for Digihost. And I want to bring that to this part of the coast. So, as a conclusion, I'm going to take more of your time. As a conclusion, we are friendly with the environment. Of course, we are a public company and we have deliverable, and we cannot keep on postponing a project. But I feel that you will be proud of this project. Proud, and we are concerned. We won't let you down in terms of whatever issues you may or may not have, but you'll be proud of a project because it will attract a lot of smart people. People come to the Axel to see our incredible state-of-the-art work, and half of it was done by Tom Bradley over there. It's incredible, it's really well done, and we have no complaints. We use green energy, we'll do the same here, and we'll do it in the aesthetic approach. So nobody, no residents will be upset. We don't want to upset anyone. So that will be my conclusion, and I hope that you embrace the project. A lot of people are in blockchain and they're opening in many different states because it's needed for society. It's number one, I would say, healthcare. Healthcare needs blockchain. And I have articles, you'll see that Walmart started to use blockchain for medical records. So everything I'll post on the website so you can read it and look at it. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to comment and reply to you guys.
With that, we will, if people could line up along the wall there and ask their questions once the screen comes up and the council goes back to the front. Thank you. Michel, you stay right where you're at. Thank you.
It's really good. Dude, Michelle. That's crazy.
Right. I'd love to grab you aside and ask you a couple questions if that's okay when all this is done. Okay, great, thank you. Oh,
With that, we will begin the comment period. Again, as a reminder, you'll have 3 minutes at the microphone.
I'll leave it to you to kind of. Hi, is it okay to start?
Let's just do this.
Yeah. Please state your name and address. I've got a timer here. Okay. Jim Berry, 43 Old Falls in North Tonawanda. And I'm going to start out by saying, yes, I am very opposed to this project. And I agree with Alderman Tylick's suggestion that we did a 3-month moratorium to really study this and learn more about it. Now, a lot was presented here tonight, but I kind of came here hoping for like a really focused sort of presentation. And I'm sorry here, but you were all over the place here. I mean, we went through, passport visas in New York, we went through some kind of a house in California, and a whole bunch of other things. But the main thing we need to focus on here for North Tonawanda is the power plant here. And there's very little that you really addressed about the power plant here. Now, I've been looking at your websites, I've been going through the history, I've seen that you've been doing this in the background for a long time. North Tonawanda only heard about this, I think, about a month ago. And I'm finding things on the New York Public Services Commission and thing all the way back to April.
But one of the things that keeps coming up to me is when I look at this is the green technology. You call it DigiGreen. And so far, I don't see anything solidly green about that, and I don't think that was really addressed here at all. Now you're talking about, and I'll address this maybe to your energy officer here, you put in some of your earlier press releases and things like that, which we never saw here, you talked about renewable natural gas, RNG. It's also called biogas. And that's a type of biofuel. And I'm really into biofuels. Just as some background for perspective, I'm here as a concerned, I'm going to say a very concerned North Tonawanda resident. I'm a professor at the University of Buffalo in the biology department, and I'm very familiar with biofuels. And I very much support biofuels. It's a fantastic technology. But what you're suggesting here, if this is what you're suggesting, because it's not clear to me, this is why this is a question, right? Are you planning, are you proposing that you can run this plant 24/7? On renewable energy, because it's not been scaled up anywhere near that level. Maybe in the future, yeah, but there's no way. Are you telling me you can run this, or us, not me, that you can run this plant 24/7 on biogas? Because I don't know where your supplier would be for that. I'm not opposed to blockchain. With only 3 minutes, I don't have too much I can cover here. Blockchain is fantastic, and I really believe in it. But I believe in green blockchain technology. And the green technology has got to come from places, I mean, you are aware, everyone has been brought up here, China, which was the, 70% blockchain production, has booted all the blockchain people out. I understand Canada is booting people out. And we don't want to bring this here to North Tonawanda. That plant has been running at 10% for I don't know how decades. Has it ever been run at 100%? It's not going to be run on renewable natural gas. It's going to be run, unless I'm missing something, on regular natural gas, right? That's not zero emission. Natural gas has about a 50% in carbon footprint of coal, 70% of diesel, and so it's not going to be minimal. And if we crank that thing up to from 10% to 100%, which I'm not even sure, maybe someone can answer that, has it ever been run at 100%?
Excuse me, Mr. Barry, your time is up.
Okay.
You can have
Well,
my 3 minutes.
no, that's okay. Well, thank you. You know where I'm at anyway.
Hi everyone, my name is Emily Tirana. I am the Leadership Development Director and Director of Organizing at Clean Air Coalition of Western New York. Our office is located...
Excuse me, do you have your address?
Yes, I was about to say that. 52 Linwood Avenue in the city of Buffalo, and we represent members...
Excuse me, I asked for North Tonawanda residents to speak first. Could you wait
So-
for... Could you please wait for North Tonawanda residents to give their opportunity to speak first?
Sure, and then, but
And then
when
you
you laid those out, you didn't say when other people, and we
After-
represent members throughout North Tonawanda.
After we're finished with the North Tonawanda residents, any other resident from anywhere else should speak. I know it's not. So please respect the residents of North Tonawanda first.
I
to
hope that
speak.
you respect the residents of North Tonawanda and vote no on this plant and for the moratorium, and I am happy to wait. Thank you so much.
My name is Larry Young. I'm at 837 Fairmont in North Tonawanda. I happen to live on a street that's on the wind side, so the wind blows from where your location is. Similar to when Derez was over there, we got a black... I'm sorry, is this on? I'm sorry. Okay. I live on the windward side of where you're going to be located. And when Derez was operational many years ago, we had black residue landing on our cars, our plants, and everything else. And I know this is a much greener technology than what they were doing, but I think it's important we know what fuels you're actually going to be using and what emissions are coming out of there. If it's going to be all from the power grid from Niagara Mohawk or wherever our supplier is, most of that comes from the power plant up in Niagara Falls. Why do we need to have an additional biograde or fuel being burnt when everybody knows we're trying to get rid of burning of fuels, especially in the auto industry? By 2030, we're not supposed to have any gas cars being produced anymore. And you shared with me that by 2030, you believe that you'll be 100% renewable. So back to the other gentleman's issue. I'd like to ask a direct question. You told me at some point we would have 30 to 40 local people employed at this facility. What's the timeline on that? And partially, to answer that could be, how many local people are employed at the Axle plant? And if you don't know that answer, I would like to see that somewhere.
I will answer.
Pardon?
Please,
I would
please,
answer.
please do.
So I would like to have the opportunity to answer the first, questions. So,
This is my time.
I just want to answer the first comments from Mr. So, thank you, and I will answer after, of course, for you. So you mentioned that we cannot buy biogas to the extent to run the plant. We have already a contract in place of enough renewable energy to run that plant. If we can open that plant, one day.
Can you give me your source?
So I will give you my source. I have two sources. Okay, one of them is right here. Link from which company? Energy Mark. Okay, so we have, and my whole point that you missed, unfortunately, was that by creating blockchain, we are pushing renewable plants to do more renewable, to supply the power plant that we have. That's the whole idea. We are accelerating the green. And it's like the chicken and the egg. Who was born first? Of course, if we don't buy renewable energy, these plants will die. So they need us. They need us to place these orders, and we are committing day one to be 50% renewable on that power plant, because we are buying the renewable, the RNGs. Okay, and after, if you want to be even more environment compliant, we can buy offsets that helps people to develop renewable energy. So we have the solution. I'll be glad to present to you in detail with a plan. I have no issue with that. But to say that you love blockchain but you don't want blockchain here, it's a contradictory statement. So
There are thousands of blockchain companies.
Actually, as a council member, can I ask a question for clarification? So you're saying you would buy, I think, 50% of renewable gas, right, or biogas?
Correct.
So is that biogas going to be used, so you're saying you'll make enough money, right? You start running the plant, and your ability to make all that money and use natural gas will then purchase green things elsewhere?
No, when we buy gas, renewable, we are buying gas that is made from renewable, cow manures, water waste.
Okay.
So we go to these plants, they take all this waste, they create gas from renewable energy, and we buy from, and we pay a premium. And we'll publish that for sure, because we're a public company. We'll publish our contract of renewable RNGs, okay, to make sure we are accelerating our intent to be green. Now, I will go to the employment. So when, for instance, for that power plant, day one, when we contract Tom Brady here, that is local, and Ferguson, we have 20, 30, 40 people working for months, for 3-4 months at the time. Then we have permanent employees that we train. So for the size of a power plant, we'll have at least 20 people, technicians, to come, and sometimes we need people on the 24/7, so at night, so they get paid even more than usual. And because they work in blockchain, they get a higher rate of pay. So definitely we'll have between direct jobs and indirect jobs in excess of 30 to 50 people, definitely. And that, I'm not counting how many people, Tom, you contract when you do our jobs. I know that you had dozens of people. And maybe you could witness that, Tom. I would love you to witness and tell us your experience with our company 4 years ago, as we started from North Tonawanda. So, I hope I answered your question.
Well, I have one last question.
Go ahead.
I'm going to ask it. Please. I've seen construction already started at the facility, pads or something going on outside of what's been there for many years. were the plans issued to the board to do that work in initiation of the construction?
It's a little bit complex, and I would like to say also, and you had a good point, by the way.
I'm sorry, we couldn't hear the question.
I'm very sorry. My question was, there seems to be some construction already happening there, and my core question was, the board already approving those and our engineer, so that some things were going on before we knew about it. So that's really one of the core questions. And then my last part of this question was, did the town or the city of North Tonawanda issue any tax incentives to your company to come here, either long-term or short-term?
So no incentives, except a welcome bottle of water maybe once in a while. And no incentives was given to us. And I would like to respond to your point that you heard about that project a month ago, and that's why you're asking to get more time. We've been publicly announcing the acquisition early March. March, April, May, June, July, August. It's 6 months already. And everybody is aware of that project. Okay, so I apologize. So not everybody is aware, but the city was aware. The people were aware because we went to this meeting month after month after month and got postponed. Okay, so.
Because of the pandemic, maybe?
No, not because of the pandemic.
Sir,
it was public.
Sir, can I just ask, so you met with officials in March. Who were those officials?
I didn't meet with officials. I said it was published.
It was published.
It was because we're a public company. It was published
Yeah.
March 24 to be precise, but it was signed a couple weeks earlier than that. And then we started, because we are, I would love Nick or someone that is in a legal to tell us if we're in the right zoning, if we have a right to put a cement pad, because so far we have done only electrical work.
Yes. So my question for this is, when was the first time you met with any city official here, and who were those officials?
So I did not personally meet anyone.
Anyone from the company about this project?
So Dan will answer, please.
So once we started going over the project, probably was April-ish, we met with the building inspector to pull permits. And at that point, the building inspector said that we should go to the town board with this, because he didn't think that it was zoned properly, because he didn't understand the project. And through many months here, working with town attorneys and everything, we've come to the conclusion that we are zoned for this. It is industrial, and we have every right to do it.
So Dan, did you ever meet with any city officials?
Just worked with the building inspector for the first probably 2 months.
Okay. And the zoning piece that you mentioned, you're correct that our zoning is for the industrial area in regards to computers, but the question that came up, I believe from our building inspector, was more so that we don't have zoning for this type of business. It's as if an alien was to land in North Tonawanda, and how do we zone around that? So that's kind of the other take on it. But yes, thank you for your answer.
I will answer. I will comment on what you just said. We do cloud computing. Cloud computing is no more, no less, and I can bring one. I wish I could have bring a server. It's a server, same type of servers that has memory that we use, like Yahoo, Facebook, Google, Amazon. They all have these data centers. They are called cloud computing. And what we do, blockchain. We're not the only one. Walmart does it, IBM, Microsoft, all these companies, correct? And they are useful for AI. Artificial intelligence. And with AI and cloud computing, that 48% of emission, we will transform the transportation to be zero emission. So that's why all these companies are working on, and that's why they need us as a decentralized data center. That's what we do. So we're not here to bother the community. We are here for a very good purpose. And you can read about it. All these big top 500 companies that are very smart and very powerful are developing blockchain to help getting carbon neutral or negative. And we are part of that movement.
I would ask the city attorney also to answer your question about why it's at the council now and what the process is moving forward. So I'll let our city attorney answer that question for you.
So in regards to the work that you've seen going on already, what happened was the electrical permit was split into two parts. The initial groundwork, so digging the trenches and running the line. So that was the first step that they were allowed to do. The electrical code inspector asked me if they were allowed to do that. I said yes, so it was split into two parts. Once that first part was done, they then had to go to planning board to get the rest of the site plan reviewed, such as the concrete pads, the storage actual units, any fencing or screening from the street, things like that. So that's why it's at planning board now. It'll go through the full seeker review through the city engineer's office, and then that'll go to the planning board on September 8th for their review of the seeker and of the project.
Way beyond me, really, and I apologize for not knowing more, but, so the emissions coming out when you use your biofuels is better than what comes out of an exhaust pipe of an automobile, is that correct?
Now, we give you in New York State, 48% of the carbon emission comes from transportation, from driving a car. 19% comes from home.
No, you're implying to me that that's cleaner than the automobile exhaust. My question specifically is it cleaner than the exhaust? Because the way I see it, you're going to be emitting 10,000 cars worth of exhaust.
But it's cleaner in the sense that if tomorrow you use electricity that's made from green energy instead of gas.
We have Niagara Falls within 30 miles here. I don't need to go to biofuel to get my electric. New York City does.
Okay. Can I?
Name and address, please.
I'm Susan Wilk. I reside at 329 Miller Street in North Tonawanda. I'm a lifelong resident, and I know the politics of this place, and I know what goes on and the stuff that goes on behind people's backs. Now, we're not the dumbed-down people from upstate New York. There are other communities in upstate New York do not want that, including Watkins Glen and Driston on Seneca Lake. They know that their water is going to get heated up. They have trout, they have aquatic life. You also have these batteries. God knows what's in them, and how are you going to, oh, sorry.
Don't get too close. He's gonna act.
Okay, thank you. Okay, but the idea is batteries leak stuff. And it's going to cause a lot of problems because our water treatment plant isn't going to be able, maybe the technology to remove this stuff. And we deserve better. We do not need this. And also, Bitcoin is like when I learned about in American history class about finances and depressions. It's a big bubble. One day it's going to break or fall like a house of cards. And the idea is we can get away with not using our paper currency. The United States of America and our Constitution, only the U.S. government prints its own currency. They're not going to have some corporation take over our money.
Right.
It's decentralized.
Decentralized. Corporations are killing us. We need antitrust laws. Like Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota. She believes in antitrust. And the reason why you're coming over here is because Canada doesn't want it, and certainly the Chinese are smart. They don't want this shit.
You made very good points, and I would like to address your points. So, China are dictators. It's a dictatorship. There's no freedom in China. They don't allow Facebook. They don't allow Google. So that it's not a great reference to talk about China because we are not a democracy. And we are democratic. Okay.
What does that have to do with us?
She just mentioned about China stopping the blockchain industry. So I'm responding to that. So, no. Europeans are very big. Just to give you an example, Sweden has zero cash. Sweden does not allow cash in their country. Okay, so now let's go back to a little bit of history. Until 1971, until Nixon stopped the gold standard, fiat currency was attached to gold standard. Until 71, Nixon said no more gold standard. Fiat currency will be us. And the government has been issuing bonds and borrowing and issuing bills and notes every year. Last year and this year, $27 trillion. Every time you issue more bills, more supply, you create inflation. And when you create inflation, what happens? The value of your bills is going down. And that's why we have an alternative, which is cryptocurrency. And it's a bipartisan, by the way, adoption. So, you know, if you don't believe in blockchain, is one thing. I hope that you can, read about blockchain and see that even major companies are adopting blockchain. Walmart, Microsoft, IBM, FedEx, and you can read about it. Tesla, you know that. Tesla is for blockchain if it's 50% green at least. Okay,
There's an
and by
empty
doing
Tesla building
that,
in Buffalo.
by doing
Please
that,
don't shout your comments out.
Okay, I'm sorry.
by doing that, he's been a locomotive to push all of us being greener. Okay, so green 10, 15 years ago was not even in the agenda. Today it's on the agenda. We're all sensitive. We all want to be green. So I think it's very positive for the communities, every communities. It's very positive.
One second, just want to clarify. I think there's a misconception too from what you just said. There is zero battery storage at our facility. We are not storing batteries anywhere. The amount of batteries that you would have to have, it would be enormous. So we do not have any type of batteries, lithium, nothing, zero. Somebody reported that in error.
Hey, real quick, we want to bring Jason Copswell up. He's our superintendent of the wastewater plant to address the question that was asked about discharging back and where capacity is we can handle.
Hi everybody, I'm Jason Kepsel, superintendent for the city of North Tonawanda water wastewater treatment plants. I just heard a couple questions here about the discharge into the system, about the water we're going to take. So I'll just kind of let you know what I've heard. I've toured Fortistar about 2 weeks ago, I think. Austin, you were there with me. So we toured the facility. What they're planning on doing is they're going to take 500,000 gallons of water into Fortistar every day to use. We have a 16-inch water line on Erie Avenue that supplies that water. 500,000 gallons, it sounds like a lot of water, but it's really not. Our plant is a 4.5 million, normally runs about 4.5 million gallons a day. We are permitted for 12 million gallons, so 500,000 gallons is only a half a million. It's really not a lot.
We're already having an issue with the water. Are we not having an issue with wastewater?
Well, please do not shout your comments.
We'll go on to that in a
talk like
minute.
everybody else.
So we'll go on to that in a minute. So that's the water they're going to take. The water they're going to take, there really is no issue with the water that they're going to take in. Of the water that they use, some of it's recycled, some of it's blown off into evaporation. There's about 100,000 gallons that's going to go back into the sewer system. 100,000 gallons is literally a drop in the wastewater plant. The wastewater plant, I'm sorry?
So you get a lot of rain again, and then we all get flooded.
You get flooded not because of that. So that's a separate issue. The wastewater plant is a 20 billion gallon plant. There is no problem handling all the water that comes in. The problem is the sewer system cannot get it to the plant. That is the issue. So as far as their 100,000 gallons a day, it's literally a drop. Normal flows there are 6.5 million gallons a day. it's a 20 million gallon plant, so it's really not a lot. We're able to handle both sides. As far as the water wastewater side, as far as infrastructure goes, there is really no issue. Both the sewer lines and the water lines are sufficient. This plant has been there since 1992, right? 1992, when I was 5 years old, that place was built. So it's been operating. In the past, you ran at 90 to 100%. Recently, they have not in many years, but they do. They are part of our industrial pretreatment program. All the water that comes out of that plant is tested by us frequently. We go over and test it, check for heavy metals, check for other factors in there.
They
Go ahead.
said earlier that they never ran at that high of a percent.
In the 90s, maybe. Go ahead. I don't know about the plant.
So I've been there since the construction in '92. The plant, as it runs today, every time we run is no different than when we ran in the 90s. The first 10 to 12 years, we ran full 100%. And the plant dynamics has not changed at all. We use every time we run, we use the same amount of water in, same amount of water out, same amount of power out. So nothing is going to change as far as the power plant itself. We bid into the market every day, and we don't know till the day before if we're going to get picked up to run. So when we do get picked up to run, it's the same process every time, same amount of water. We could be running for a month. Typically we run in July, August, and Jan and Feb during the high peaks, and none of the process changes. So your comment is, it's not valid because you didn't understand the process.
Earlier in the presentation though, that you're only running at 10% capacity.
The last several years where capacity's down quite a bit. One, because of the pandemic, obviously.
I'm not contradicting myself,
So,
you are.
not really.
So Dan, so Dan, can I just ask, because I'm a little confused.
Just 1 second, Austin. So the contradictory is really not that. What I'm trying to do is give you an example that the plant ran 20 years ago for the first half of its life is no different than it's running today. There's no more process. The process didn't change. We're just running less, and that's what I was trying to get you to understand.
So.
But isn't the infrastructure older than 1992? Is there
No.
having the same problems that we always had? Nothing ever got fixed?
We don't have any problems with our plant. It runs.
Dan, and yes, so thank you for meeting Jason and I the other day, because it's a foreign plant to many of us, and I think some of the other council members also checked it out. And you're right, you could turn up that plant today and run at 100%, right? That's been stated before. You don't, right, because maybe the return isn't there or what have you, but I guess the question I have about the water, it's the same process, but I'm correct that you're going to be using more water, 500,000 gallons extra every day, and then releasing 100,000 gallons of water. And so the question I would have is then, Jason, you know, like someone brought up, the rain we had those weeks ago was crazy. Sure. I understand that. And our plant can certainly facilitate cleaning that water.
It can.
But getting there was mine and others' concerns. You know, if there's more water running through a 15-inch drain line or whatnot, and then rainwater starts coming in, 100,000 gallons, and it's 24/7. I mean, is there, and that was going to be a future comment I'd make, like that to me means we should look into a study and see if there is going to be that kind of impact. You know, we've had a ton of water line breaks. I don't know what's going on with all these valves that we've had issues with, which you've been doing a great job fixing. It's just concerns like that.
So, as far as the water breaks, we'll start there. So, a lot of the water breaks in the city, it is because of aging infrastructure. Very few of them are on Erie Avenue. Erie Avenue is a 16-inch water line. The ones on River Road were caused by construction. As you all know, you've seen those. Some of them around the towers can be pressure related. This one here, they're tapped into a 16-inch water line on Erie Avenue. That shouldn't be an issue. We can check the valves in that area, but there should really not be any problems. They already do this when they run. I don't know how many days a year you run now.
It depends.
It depends, right. So they do run. And to clarify, when they run, it is the exact same process. Again, you know, whether Whether they ran 335 days in the past like they used to or like they're going to now, it's running the exact same whether they run 1 day or 335 days. So we are already providing that water to them on the days that they run. So it does work. It's just going to be more capacity. As far as the sewer goes, 100,000 gallons, that's per day. So if you break that down per hour in those rain events, when you have a large amount of rain dumped on you in a short amount of time, yes, there is problems, and those are, can be lift station problems. They can be sewer problems throughout the city. As far as that plant goes, though, the wastewater plant, there is no issue with taking it. I did hear a question earlier about the temperature of the water. All water that goes through the sewer system is treated by that wastewater plant. We do have to measure for temperature there, both in and out. They have never had a problem in the past. As far as temperature goes, with this new amount, 100,000 gallons is literally a drop compared to what goes into that plant. I hope everybody really understands it's a 20 million gallon per day plant. This is 100,000 gallons of water. It's really not a lot. Now you will be charged for that. We've talked about that before, both water and wastewater. And then, as far as infrastructure goes, I think there's really no issues there.
And with that, I'd like to let the residents have, continue on with the comments, please. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Emily Root. I live at 425 Wheatfield Street. So I'm here to express my concern for this facility and support the moratorium. I have very serious concerns about the potential environmental impact. So from what we know, you said a lot of great things today about renewable energy and green energy, but we need facts of how is this going to happen. From what we know, you purchased a natural gas fossil fuel burning facility to produce energy 100% of its capacity. So obviously that's the plan for the short term. So how long are we going to be exposed to those emissions from that facility that releases CO2 emissions, that also has a lot of harmful emissions in terms of the community, breathing the air? You'll hear more about that from our friends at the Clean Air Coalition later on. So based on those facts and what we've seen from other similar facilities, I have serious concerns about the health impacts and the contributing to our greenhouse gas emissions. Secondly, there's been an extreme lack of public information until today, and we've been still not great. I would like facts in writing would be really wonderful of what is the plan for the renewable energy? When is that happening? Where is it being sourced from? Because as far as I know, the only source of renewable natural gas in the region is about 40 minutes away from here. So what's the plan for that? We've been tirelessly searching for facts on this, and it's been very difficult. So we need more information on air emissions, permits, operations. This information should be publicly available, and the fact that it's not raises a lot of red flags. The city is legally responsible for posting this information publicly and allowing for public comment as part of the site plan review process and the seeker process. So we need to know when that's going to happen.
It's up right now.
It's up right now.
Where?
On the website. And
I've not been able to see that. And also, regardless of how this relates to laws, permits, and regulations, this is a new owner and a new use of the facility that is no longer producing energy for the grid. This is producing energy for a private profit. I've heard this reference as a business decision for the city, and I'm curious how this is a good business decision, and in the end, who will this benefit? The community has suffered enough at the hands of poor decision-making that turned a blind eye to community health for the profit of the few. We finally made progress shutting down some of the facilities in the region, like Durez and Tonawanda, and I cannot believe that we would even entertain something like this. I believe this decision is short-sighted. We need to know the facts, and we need to be able to understand them and weigh them. And I know that personally, I will not stay in a community and raise a family in a community that does not value its community members and protect their health. And I look forward to hearing more about these facts and that you'll share with us as this conversation progresses.
Can we comment
I'm going to address
on the renewable energy?
A couple of questions on where the renewable natural gas is from, and that's a very good question. So our plan is to, we're going to take the renewable natural gas from dairy farms in New York, like you said, 40 minutes away is the closest, and we have firm capacity to take the natural gas over to the plant, and also from Pennsylvania. So the biogas comes from there. So that is what Michelle was alluding to for the.
Please don't shout questions from the back.
I'm just afraid we won't have time to, get around.
You'll have,
We just, I mean, they have
I promise.
they have their chance to present. We should have our chance to talk, and then they can come back out and interrupt.
I promise you will have your chance to talk. Thank you.
A very quick response, because I know you all want to talk, and we want you to talk. So, you have valid points, everyone. That plant has been running for at least from 92 to whatever, the last few years at above 50%, and after it went down with the economy, I guess. Did you have any complaints on that plant? Did you have any residents, local people saying that you are a bad industrial power plant? Did you have any negative about your plant? Because when I saw your plant the first time, it's one of the most beautiful maintained plants that I've seen in the region. And as you know, when we acquire a plant, we don't manage the plant. They manage the plant. The people who are managing the plant for the last 30 years are managing the plant going forward. Because we are not about a power plant, we are about a data center. So now if I ask you a question, all of you guys, and you worry about the health of the family, and you should worry, okay, if somebody like Yahoo comes and wants to open a data center, cloud computing, that's what we are, by the way. Okay, are you going to say no? I don't want any data centers.
Yes.
So, okay. So it has not. So I'm glad you say that, because it has nothing to do with blockchain and Bitcoin. It has to do with you don't want any servers anywhere. Okay, so I'm glad. But in every situation, economic situation, there are pluses and minuses. You want jobs, highly paid jobs for your kids and your family? You want? Okay. So,
excuse me, please, let him talk.
We demonstrated that we are giving jobs to the local community. We demonstrated that in the past, and we are willing to hire people from the community. And with highly paid jobs, don't you want to have highly paid jobs in your community? For your kids or whatever, whoever. You don't need, it's a new, blockchain is a new technology. You get formed as you come and you work for blockchain. You're exposed to a new technology. It's an opportunity. How can you turn down an opportunity that will give to your family higher income?
Thank you, ma'am, you're next.
Okay, first of all, I'm new to the community. I've been here a year, but I live right across the way in Buffalo, and I'm not my first time to this
Could you give us your name and your address?
My name is Claudia Pierazzini, and I live at 331 Bennett Street.
Thank you.
Or 557 King, whichever you like, it's both legal. But I'm going to take a page from your playbook, and that is to convince the local people. And it's always a community that is suffering from job loss. I grew up in the Sheridan Parkside projects, so I'm one of you. But I don't live in New York and LA and own a fashion company and have lots of money. I might look like a fancy lady, but I'm one of you. I loves me a good tavern. So my dad worked in 3 factories until he decided that he needed to do more, and he became a teacher, a proud teacher of American history right across the way. I know it's the rival in Tonawanda. He taught there for years, but you know what? His life ended early because he worked in Bethlehem Steel, and he was exposed to radioactive rods. Did they care? No, they didn't. He served his country proudly. So, and I don't drive a pickup truck, but you notice how I'm talking to these people over here. You notice how that man worked the pickup truck in here? I think there's 99% of the people that live here drive a pickup truck. So he's trying to convince you that he's one of you. Is he going to be sitting at your tavern having a beer? Because you know what? Come and find me at my house and I'll go have a beer with you any day. Now, he mentioned 20 or 30 jobs. You got to be honest here. Are these jobs for people that only went to high school or maybe didn't even go to high school? You know, I know we value education, but I question that. He says that there's going to be great jobs. They sow fear and they dangle the carrot and we take the bait every single time. My dad told me you need to do your homework, and I didn't. I wrote these notes now because I didn't do my homework here. But if you don't learn to vote your own interests, you're going to perish. So, and then another thing they meant that got my attention is the 41% green energy, 42% nuclear energy. And how many years is that going to take, did he say?
10.
10, okay?
Hopefully 10.
And how is that going to immediately impact you? Sorry, I'm riled up here because I didn't expect to talk. But in living in Buffalo with all the promises of all these highfalutin big talking companies, my tax bills never went down, my utility bills never went down. So I'm just going to say, please don't be penny wise and pound foolish, and watch out for the big fish.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Deborah Gondek at 257 Brentwood Drive in North Tonawanda. I was really looking forward to the presentation tonight and hoping to get a lot of answers to the questions, to the letters that myself and many other concerned residents had sent to the Common Council. I think after your presentation I have more questions than answers, and that's why I support the 3-month moratorium on this or any other cryptocurrency operation until we can have ample time to really consider the full impact of this. Is it an opportunity like Google, or is it more like an opportunity like Durez? We don't know yet. We don't have enough facts. And you know, I'm sorry you feel like that you've been delayed, and I think what you're seeing is the result of what happens when you don't involve public input at the very beginning. And others on the council who remember, about 15 years ago there was a development that was not just proposed, was just kind of started behind our neighborhood through some wetlands, and no DEC permit, no public hearing. We complained to the council, brought this to their attention. The more we spoke, the faster they dug. And as a result, our neighbors had to, we had to pool our own funds, hire an attorney, basically to get the city to do what they were supposed to do in terms of following the law for public hearings, permitting, etc. That delayed the whole process, and we weren't saying don't do the development, we were saying get us this information. We had concerns about flooding, we had concerns about environmental, wetlands and things like that. That delayed the project 2 years. So that's what happens if you don't involve the public at the beginning. So I think another 3 months to get some more information on this, to verify some of the claims that you made today that sound good, but honestly, they're a little vague. I'm recently retired from Rich Products, where I was their Director of Environmental Sustainability, so I know some greenwashing when I hear it, but I want to give you the opportunity to support those claims with some facts. Fact-based information, not right now. Wait a minute, let me finish, and then you can. So, for example, some of the vague claims related to jobs, for example. So you said 20, I heard 20 to 30 permanent jobs, and I heard that they will pay, they're going to be high-paying jobs, they pay 3 to 4 times what everyone else makes. So 3 to 4 times over what? So this is what we want to understand. Like, where are you getting your calculations for your environmental, your jobs?
Because you have more than 2 minutes. Thank you. Good points. And I would hire you if you're available, because you sound great and you could help us. So we demonstrated that factually, not we're going to do, in the past, and we publicly disclose it on our press releases, that we are 90% green. It's public. So you cannot question that and talk about the future. This is the past. And you are missing a very important point with the grid. National grid, which is the delivery of electricity to all your home, okay, exclusively. They rely on people who generate power. They have to. If we don't exist, they cannot supply electricity to you. You won't have air conditioning, you won't have heat, and so on and so forth. So I give you another factual that you can check with National Grid. Last week, we turned off our servers 5 days on a row to be able to cope with a heat wave, so you, the community, can get air conditioning. Or you would be, not for free I'm sure, but you get air conditioning, so you survive. In Texas, there was a...
So you allotted us to get whoever to get their air conditioning, their
No.
own house, because you shut off your
No,
servers?
National Grid, when there is a demand because of heat wave, needs load of power. It's a fact. You can read it, you can ask and call National Grid. When there is a heat wave, 90, 95 degrees, they don't have enough supply of power. Where do they go? They go to companies like us and say, I want your power now, today, instant. It's called the 30 minutes spinning reserve. So within 30 minutes, we shut down everything and we give our entire power load to you guys, to the grid, so you can be, surviving in the heat wave. Now, if we don't have that power, and if we keep on, all these plants keep on closing down, because you don't like data centers, okay, you won't have air conditioning at some point. That's a fact. So I just want to let you know, call National Grid. It's a very big company, and you'll see. So to respond to Miss Yande, to respond to you, okay, you will be the first one I would hire because you seem qualified about the environment.
How much would she make?
I'll pay more than what she made in the past,
How
that's
much?
for sure. I don't know what's it here. You need a resume, you need an interview, right?
You got benefits?
So
No, your business plan.
my point is, you want jobs, you want income. Okay, the water is a $500,000-$600,000 income for the city. How the city councils and the mayor is going to do good things for the community if there is no income? Okay, so that was my point. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Can I have the next speaker, please?
Could I just wrap up, the other rationale for the timing for the 3-month moratorium for the support of that, the New York State Senate recently passed a moratorium on bit mining facilities at power plants using fossil fuels, which is what we have here. So now it goes to the assembly, and we need to let this play out and give it the time to do that. So I think a 3-month moratorium is certainly rational. The NT Planning Commission also has a seeker that we need to see. Concerned citizens have filed a FOIL. There's 20 days response for that. And the North Tonawanda Climate Smart Task Force should also be given an opportunity.
If the Climate Smart Task Force, which is run by Austin Tillich, is not met yet, the planning, this decision rests entirely in the planning board. Is an independent body.
And right, and what I'm saying is, based on what I'm seeing here tonight, a public hearing would be really valuable, and a 3-month moratorium to get the information.
We got it. Thank you.
And just to back up, so Tuesday, just so you know, Tuesday is when we're organizing the 10 people, like herding cats. It took a month to get it through to, and yes, the Climate Smart Task Force would be a great group to look into the
Thank
issue.
you. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Darlene Bolsover, 1337 Sweeney Street. Good evening to all you gentlemen and Ms. Donna. So my first question is to Attorney Brown. You were aware of this coming to the city in April?
I was aware of the request for an electrical permit.
Did they state in the electrical permit what it was for?
I don't know. I was asked if they could run if they could transfer electrical line. It would be the same as if someone asked me if you could dig a trench to run the line to your pool. I don't look at the permit. I look at whether they're allowed to do that portion of the project or not.
So commercial property, you don't look at any closer than you do residential?
No, I'm not the code officer or the building inspector. The question was whether it could be split into two parts, and my response was yes, it could be split into two parts.
Okay. The reason I started with that question is because that was back in April, and this was brought to the city. That was April, May, June, July, August, and almost to September. That's 6 months. Somewhere along the line, somebody in the city had 6 months to learn that Digihost was going to be financed by Forrester, who is an investment company that has a gross annual income, what is it, 11 million, 11.6 million, 3 billion in investments?
Who's Forrester?
That's a head company, I don't know.
We don't know Forrester.
That's the head company, okay. So you all had, somebody in the city had 6 months. We've all been given since Tuesday of the meeting when someone, Mayor-elect, Alderman, brought this to us and said, let's stop what we're doing, let's get some more information, let's give the residents what they need. Information, education, and protection. Now, thank you. In that time, we have been able to have the environmental committee be able to get together on Tuesday. We've had the ability to go through records for Forrester and find out that they are a nice contributor to the Republican Party. Oh, you all knew I was having fun today. We have all, now, because I own a home, guess where? Yep, Walk Road, right across from the Durez plant. So, and as my mother working there, retiring from the plant, I'm very aware of what they have done, how they treated their people, what they did to them. The ones that was like my grandfather who died, who lived across the street in the house that I owned because of mesothelioma, because he lived there for 20 years.
Thank you. Thank you. Your 3 minutes are up.
Would anybody like, would anyone,
We don't do that.
excuse me, any code of conduct under Robert's rules, someone can offer up their time. Would we like to go to the Supreme Court and say, have a community meeting and
We've had other meetings where we do not transfer time to other residents, we give the next person the ability to talk.
Eric, do you truly stand by that statement?
Time's up.
Hold, please. Eric, do you truly stand by that
Those
statement?
are the common practices that were laid forth from decades ago with this meeting.
No, they are not.
Yes, they are. I've been on for 10 years.
Can we move on, please? Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You betcha.
Does anybody have actually a community law degree in regards to the fact that they are breaking Supreme Court law?
Time to go. They probably are.
Oh, no, I know they are.
I thank you guys, honestly, for coming out and doing the presentation. And I see your son sitting next to you going, I have an MIT degree, why am I here? But anyway, in the Niagara Frontier Publications, an article about the more...
Can you give us your name?
Greg Schnitzer, 429 Wheatfield Street.
Thank you.
I just assumed we do. Greg Schnitzer. Anyway, my 3 minutes starts now. In the Niagara Frontier Publications, there was a quote in there about the moratorium that was put on the solar farm project. And it read that the council at the time and the ability to complete all reasonable and necessary reviews, study analysis, and if warranted, revision to the City of North Tonawanda zoning code as it may be necessary to promote and preserve the health, safety, and welfare of the city of North Tonawanda and its residents. Do you all agree with that statement? That was in the Niagara, that was your statement from the council in the Niagara Frontier Publications. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's accurate.
Okay. I don't know where this project is any different from that as far as needing to wait and find information. And it's interesting because I wrote this before you ever did your opening talk tonight, where you said, this is new technology, this is a new frontier, this is like turning down Google 15 years ago. But wouldn't that be also with the solar project, would be the same case?
Can I talk
Because
about
leadership involves consistency, and that's really what you want.
Do you know that Governor Cuomo stated that if you don't put a moratorium out on solar farms, I'm taking over your home rule? That's New York State Governor taking away North Tonawanda residents.
Sir, I'm going to interrupt you. You said that the statement that I made here that was in the paper was accurate. In other words, I'm not talking about home rule or anything like that. You need to listen, okay? It says to complete all reasonable and necessary review, basically to ensure our health here in North Tonawanda. And then I said, isn't this project the same thing? And then you went off on some tangent about Governor Cuomo. So I'm saying, isn't this the same situation where we need time out to check things out to make sure our health as a community and as individuals are taken care of?
And I, through the research I have done, have concluded just that. Thank you.
Okay, then the next thing, people often wonder why things happen in our communities. And sometimes you look back and say, oh, that's why it happened. So I'm going to ask the companies here, okay, have you, your company, or anyone associated with you, your suppliers, your family, or anybody associated with the company, have made any political contributions to anyone or any organization in North Tonawanda or in Niagara County? Okay. Will you pledge not to make any contributions for the remainder of this year?
If I would make contribution, will be both democratic.
Hang on, no, I just asked, would you pledge not to make any political contributions for the rest of this year?
Why would I refuse my right to contribute if I want to?
Then you're saying you're not, so you're going to answer no to that you do want to make political
My
contributions to these
options
people?
open. You cannot tell me what to do.
No, I'm not telling you, I'm asking you to pledge.
Mr.
There's a big
Solicitor, your
difference.
time is up.
Okay.
Thank you.
Also, I want to ask each one of these.
Your time is up.
Hang on, you took about 45 seconds of my time, all right? I want to ask, all right? So I'm going to ask, you guys said that you would reply to questions. So I'm going to ask everybody,
time
from
is up,
Austin down to Robert, that you will not accept any political campaign contributions in regards to this project. I want to see that, okay?
Your time is up.
Well, you know what? They ain't going to do it. Now you know how it's going to happen.
We're listening to what they're saying. The solar thing is separate. Solar is we have no solar in the city right now, and it'd be a new build. I want Luke to talk about the fact, what reach do we have as a council with an existing power plant that is permitted to run, to basically pause them, not to supply power to a server farm. That's what it is a server farm. I want to hear from you, what can we do? Mic's off. I know the mic is off, but I turn it on and it echoes, so I'm trying to talk very loud. All right, I gotta repeat all that, huh? What I'm asking is, unlike solar, which we don't have anything in the city right now, and that's why there's a pause, there's things that Mr. Pepper was saying. We're talking about an existing facility that's permitted to run. So I'm gonna ask our lawyer, what do we as a council, not talking about the planning commission, the planning commission has to approve the seeker and the site plan. What do we as a council can we do or pass that can take an existing facility that's permitted to run and pause them? You need to tell us what we can and can't do.
Sure. So typically the city does have the authority to issue a moratorium under municipal home rule law. However, in this instance, I think there would be several legal challenges to that moratorium. One being that, as you noted, it is a permitted facility by the DEC. They were permitted in 2016. There was a public hearing. Their emissions were checked at that time, and the DEC has given them a permit to run at 100% capacity. So what you would be effectively doing by passing a moratorium is usurping the power from the DEC and limiting this company's ability to run its business. So I could definitely see a legal challenge from Forestar for you saying, you limiting their business, you saying that interfering with their ability to contract out what they're permitted to do under the DEC. Second, I could see a legal challenge from Digihost itself. You know, the power plant has provided energy to other entities, Greenhouse, National Grid. What you would be effectively saying is we are only passing it for the use of servers for this type of company. So there could be an argument made that you are unfairly biased against that company, that work that they're doing, and you could face a challenge under the equal protections. And then the third issue I see is that Forestar is currently a property taxpayer. They pay $90,000 a year in taxes, and you're telling them they can only run at 10%. So I could see an assessment challenge as well. So those are three legal challenges I foresee. You know, like I said, generally the city does have that authority to issue a moratorium. There's no solar farms currently, as Bob said. The state legislature said either pass a moratorium or we're going to enforce our laws. There's no such mandate from the state on this. And, you know, the unique issue here is that this is a power plant that's already running and permitted by the DEC. So,
Is Forestar still supplying the thermonuclear energy to Wheatfield Greenhouse?
I don't know, but I'm saying at least in the past.
No, they're not, so it would be under a new
What I'm saying is in the past, they were allowed to provide energy to the greenhouse and this council didn't take any action. So to come in now and say, we're gonna take this action against Digihost, you're targeting that business, that company. So I think there's a potential legal challenge there as well.
Thank you for that.
Just a couple parallels, which I appreciate your points, but you know, it was mentioned the DEC gave permission for them to run the plant. Cuomo gave everyone permission to put solar farms up, right? The other piece too is about, it's in the local law that was written, it doesn't specifically say Digihost or Forestar or anything, it's a blanket law. So if any other Bitcoin would want to.
The blockchain industry, you're targeting.
But
So if
still, it's a
if they
blanket solar.
if they're running 100% for a greenhouse, no one ever passed a moratorium on that.
But they could have, and the greenhouse wasn't in North Tonawanda. So,
But the emissions would be in North Tonawanda.
And to some degree, I mean, I don't think anyone wants to go through a lawsuit, and they certainly don't want to delay the process more. I would imagine a lawsuit would take longer than a 3-month moratorium. So I just don't really think those are strong points for the argument.
If you want to show me your legal degree, I'd love to see it.
Okay.
That, let's move on, sir. Please, let's listen up, please. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Am I up?
Yeah, you're up.
Mark Mullen, 446 Roundhouse Drive. A couple questions. My first two questions are actually for the folks up front. We heard earlier there's no IDA grants and so on and so forth. My question is, can I call you Bob?
Yeah, sure.
Last meeting, you said the revenue on the water will be approximately $600,000 annually.
Yes.
Is that net or is that gross?
Net.
Net, okay. Second question, is there a discount given to them for that amount of water they're using? And my only thing is, since they've already bought the property, I'm hoping the answer, just a yes or no answer.
No.
No. Well, that's good, thank you. Second, we keep hearing about property tax revenue going up and so on. I don't know, this might be a Luke question or not, but with the concrete pad, I mean, the existing building's already there, they're paying $90,000 a year in taxes. With these, the way I understand it, the modules coming in, I'll call them containers with all that. Are those permanent structures? Are they taxed as the same as a standalone brick and mortar building, or are they something else? Like, does it make is it a cheaper tax rate? I guess is where I'm going with that question.
No, the tax rate would be the same. It wouldn't be a cheaper tax rate. And typically, it's based, the reassessment is based upon the amount of the permit. So, but the rate would be the same.
So once it's there, even if it's X amount of cubic square feet or whatever, it's, okay. And to the folks from you, we keep hearing that you're 90% green, corporate-wide. The folks here, including myself, we only care about what's happening right here in the city. I work for paper mills, I get the water, the hydro, the solar, the whole 9 yards, but we're talking gas here. So reading some of the information for the, I'll call it the Seneca Lake, New York plant, I mean, they have hundreds of millions of CO2 emissions a year now. So more of a detailed answer, not about jobs and whatever, okay? If you're running this plant on the gas, as the gentleman from UV said, and you said, and so on, annually, how many millions of tons per year is the CO2 emissions estimated at?
Good question. Good answer. So I mentioned, it's a very good question. I mentioned our past and our location in the Axel because it shows you the character of what we want to do, our intent. Our intent is to be green. If not, we would be in the middle of America and coal plant. So we are concerned. So 2, we are buying biogas. And biogas, which is renewable energy gas, come through the pipe and right at the plant, and we are motivating this plant.
My question is...
We are. So it will be 50% renewable.
No, in millions of tons or whatever.
It's a ramp up.
You people have a lot of money involved in this. Someone in estimating, setting budgets, figuring this out ahead of time.
I'm not sure. You know that how much gas we're going to use? I'm not sure.
How much CO2 when you're up and running, full speed?
It's actually public, it's posted, that's all public information if you go to the DEC website. But it's important for you guys to know that we are permitted to run at X amount of emissions every year. So we can't go past that, otherwise we'd be in violation. The plant's never had a violation in its entire life. I've been there for 30 years.
So what's the number?
It's not coming to me right now, but it's below the DEC limitations.
Worked
So.
this in 1992.
But I don't know the total CO2 counts off the top of my head. But we can certainly post it for you. We'll have it for you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hey, Donovan Zandy from 774 Harding. I understand you guys are probably going through a ton of crap tonight, I understand. I guess my question is, were you guys or one of your sister companies or parent companies or whatever have you a part of all those other companies that got pushed out of Quebec? Were you doing business in Quebec?
I've never been except 1 week on vacation in Canada.
I meant, like, did you have a plant?
No, we never operated. We started in North Tonawanda 5 years ago, and Tom Brady is my witness. He's a resident of here.
I was just, you know what I mean, this is all,
question.
you gotta understand, this is all new to us. We've, again, like, I'm young, I haven't been around NT for maybe about 8 years, but just the stories of the people that have gotten sick from Durez, like, if you guys would have known that would have happened that many years ago like that, would you have let them in? No. You don't know what they're gonna do, what they cause, or any of that. And to be honest with you, it seems like one of those occasions where NT and their council like to sweep stuff under the rug, but yet they know about it, but they say nothing about it. There was one council member that did say something, and I think we all know, and that's why we're going to vote for him for mayor.
I just want to say, if we were sweeping it under the rug, would we have taken 2 hours to listen to what you guys have to say?
No choice. No choice.
No, it's not a public hearing, Greg. Thanks, though.
Oh, all right.
It's a presentation.
You know, I just, you know, I don't understand that, like, the attitude that comes from a few of the council members that are around here, and it's always the same one. I just don't understand, like, we're here asking questions.
Yeah, we're just
but
trying to
asking questions
accommodate
because
you.
no,
I'm trying to accommodate you, but there are people that are being
you
rude
understand that
and
you
disrespectful,
guys all
that's
work
all.
for us, right?
Yeah, that's why we're
Yeah.
having you
Oh,
here.
no, but you
That's
act-
why we're having
no,
you here.
Your attitude acts like we owe you something.
No.
We don't.
If we didn't care, we wouldn't have you here.
But, and you gotta understand that this isn't just about you, this is about our council that we've had an issue with for a long time, but for some reason they keep getting in. Like, I don't understand.
We appreciate that.
We're
The
just-
government
Hold on a second, I'm gonna speak up, because I'm gonna tell you what, taking questions from the attacking, I've been here since September,
Yeah.
I'm not in politics, he's been in it more than I have been. And I'm gonna tell you what, we found out about this in the Buffalo News, I did. And we started asking questions, hold on, I'm talking now. We started asking questions, I sat down and asked those guys to come talk, they didn't have to. We arranged it so you guys can speak, because we wanna know too. But to sit there and say, we've been into this, we're corrupt, we're sweeping things on the right, you're out of line, you're out of line. Because yes, you are. You tell me one thing that I've done under law right now, tell me.
I don't know.
Okay, well, you made a comment, the common council does this, tell me what I've done. Zero. I'm not gonna speak on these guys, including Austin, I'm not gonna sit here and take that, sorry. I organized them to come and talk to you, so they can get this out, all right? Give them the chance to talk, and see where it goes.
Okay, that's fine, we are letting them talk, are we not letting them talk?
No, but you're taking shots at us and saying things that's not true, and I take offense, because you did take a shot at me when you said common council includes me.
Oh, yeah, you guys tend to sweep stuff under the rug.
Okay, give me an example of what I did.
Were you elected to
Thank
this
you.
position?
I was chosen, I'm gonna run again, it
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
exactly.
Tell me what I've done to sweep under the rug.
I'm just asking.
Destroyed the woods and Pinewood Park.
I'll tell you, that's fine, I'm done here, but I know who probably won't be
Okay,
elected.
thank you very much, appreciate it. Good evening.
Hi, Megan, 774 Harding Avenue. I'm a Derez baby, and I have no health issues. Sorry for anyone who has, but I am a Derez baby. I used to wave at the people in the window, so. Anyway, how many computers are you running?
Currently,
No, in the building, like when this all, whatever happens, how many
it's
computers
about
are you running?
700-800 computers by structure.
So let me tell you, my son is 18 now. He actually tried to do this in his bedroom, and he did do it, but he sucked up all the internet, and his house or his bedroom was like 150 degrees. So what happens to the heat?
So
That's what the water's for. That's
when
why they want to use the water.
Okay. If you see the age in this group, I don't know if you understand cryptocurrency. I'm not for or against this, just so you know. I'm just here because whatever. And it doesn't matter how much it pays. Nobody wants to work now anyway. It doesn't matter if it's $15 or $20. I took me half an hour to get a pizza today. Just saying.
There's a plague, so there's that.
This town is embarrassing. And like seriously, I've seen like the live videos and you click in your pen. You can hear it on Facebook. The pen's dropping, clicking, I'm not saying you're, whatever. Solar power. I get 3 minutes. Is it up?
No.
Okay, solar power is green. You ever think about maybe solar power?
solar power is great in development, but you have to be in a region where it's sunny most of the time, and it's not sustainable.
Well, you could do it maybe in the summertime.
Do you realize how many acres it takes of solar power for 1 megawatt?
It was just an idea.
You should look it up.
Whatever. I'm not for or against it. I didn't come at you. I understand a lot of people are angry in this group. I get it. I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sorry, it seems like they're kind of like attacking you.
I know. Thank you.
Rich Reeves, 21 16th Avenue, North Tonawanda. Again, I came here tonight to learn some facts. I've gotten some good information. I don't know if everybody's aware of what's going on in the county right now, but I can tell you 56th and Frontier, Bitcoin mining company. DuPont, their old precious metals building, Niagara Falls, Bitcoin company.
It's torn down.
Somerset Power Plant just bid a $40 million electrical package for a Bitcoin factory. DuPont, one of their empty buildings right now, just bid a $2 million electrical package Friday for Bitcoin company. Plug Power is putting in a 120 megawatt hydrogen power plant at the Oakfield, Alabama site. They're all coming here because of our region and our climate. It helps them out. Do I want people to get hurt? Nope. But you're comparing a computer to Derez that manufactured plastics. They're not manufacturing chemicals. So you're attacking them for something that they're not even making. It's simply a computer. There are a lot of them. I don't know all the details. I know there's a lot of them. So my concern was they're not going to go after a pilot program. That plant should be on the tax rolls of the city of North Tonawanda. And the taxes are going to go up with the equipment that they put in there. That's a great thing for the city of North Tonawanda. They could close tomorrow because they're only running 3% and walk away. Now we have an NRG plant, a Dunker plant sitting there. Who's going to come in and buy it? Nobody. So, again, I learned some stuff tonight. I thank you. I know you're going to provide some more information, and I will take a look at it. But I think, you know, everybody attacking them as far as chemicals and hurting their children, it's not what this plant does.
Jimmy Widow, 533 Homestead, Drive in North Tonawanda. I have one or two quick questions, and maybe a comment, I don't know.
I'm just, hold on a second. I just wanted to say, Austin thinks this is funny. He brought to my attention, you know, there's only one person in the room. I think there's more than that, and I'm ashamed to say someone who's running for mayor is going to allow. There's your mayor.
Oh, yeah.
I was interrupted for that.
I appreciate your
Erickson Middle School. One of the things that I'm very curious about, you really went through blockchain very heavily, and you know, blockchain is used for research, etc. I understand it. What is the blockchain in this facility going to be used for, specifically? One word.
Blockchain is a decentralized...
No, stop. I understand what blockchain is.
No, you don't,
Your
because
question is not valid. You can't answer that. What you're
the blockchain is a network of hundreds
All right, let me
of...
rephrase the question. What will it primarily be used for?
Blockchain. Every information...
Where did the cryptocurrency come into this thing?
It's a reward. You get rewarded to build a data center to do blockchain, and every...
I thought you get rewarded from cryptochain by solving an equation.
Yeah, you do that, it's a calculation.
So the computers in this facility then are going to be working on the equation.
They are, and there's a block every 10 minutes, proof of work, and in that block you get information that's immutable, trustworthy, and that's why, I repeat, Microsoft, IBM...
Yes, I understand all these companies use blockchain.
FedEx, they all use blockchain for that reason. It's trustworthy. That's the most trustworthy way to collect data. It's immutable. But you need to be having decentralized data centers so nobody can edit any information. Okay, and we are part of that ecosystem. Without us, blockchain does not exist. Without us, you cannot record medical records that save life. So it's a macro positive effect besides a local effect.
So you're saying that you're in this for the long term. Once you solve the cryptocurrency problem, you are here for good.
For long term, forever, because blockchain and repeat.
Well, forever with computing.
As long as
a little bit long
I think the blockchain is for the next
couple over every 5 years. You know, they're going to come up when AI comes in hard.
AI, good point. AI is based on our data center, our blockchain. This is AI. This is exactly the same mindset. So, to answer you, I'm not here to make a salary because I get paid zero. Okay, and it's public information. I work as a CEO for $0 because I have a very big belief in that blockchain technology, and we are part of AI that will help reduce carbon emission. It will. It's written everywhere.
Okay, so you're saying you're here for the long term.
Correct.
I'd like to see a bond then, or some legal instrument in terms of what happens if you decide to leave the site, to return the site to where it was make sure that's happening, so the city doesn't get stuck with it. I realize that this might be a problem.
We've already discussed that.
All right, good, I'd like to see that discussed, so.
And Jim, your time's up. And are there any other North Tonawanda residents that want to come forward? Okay.
Yes.
Please, there's a gentleman here in front of you. Thank you.
Hi, Donald Lidcott, 42 Second Avenue. My concern, I missed a little bit of the meeting, I had to drive my mother home, but I did hear a couple things on Facebook while I was driving. Now, my concern is that, you say what you're saying here today, just kind of like what we heard with the development on Tonawanda Island back in October. We were told they're not going to be seeking reduced property taxes. It's on video, I posted about the 8-minute mark. Frank said they're not going to be looking for a deal with their property taxes. And then a couple weeks ago, we get information on the pilot that they want. Where did that come from? Like, why wasn't that communicated to the city? Like, that's my concern, that we're gonna get told one story now, that 9 months from now, when there isn't as many eyes on this project, it's all of a sudden going to get changed, and then we're, again, like, not getting the revenue that we were supposed to be getting when this whole thing started, you know what I mean?
No.
Like for the development of Tonawanda Island, when did that pilot come out? Like, we just got a memorandum about, what, just a couple weeks ago, where they're going to be doing a payment in lieu of taxes for $200 per unit. That's not what we were told back in October. So that would be one of my main concerns.
Absolutely, and what we're doing is balancing the idea of a development on Tonawanda Island with what it is the company needs to really succeed in that development on Tonawanda Island.
So they didn't know that 9 months ago?
No, we didn't, no.
They didn't know?
No.
They
Not to the presentations that we received in the council.
The developer didn't know 9 months ago?
Not that they disclosed to us.
Okay. Is that supposed to be a satisfactory answer? I don't understand.
It's not a satisfactory answer, and we're working with them right now to make sure that they move forward on the project as originally contracted.
Didn't the council pass approval of the, I'm sorry, I don't have the terms correct, but if someone can help me out, like, something was passed by the council just a couple weeks ago.
We passed it, another bill to go up to the section 11.
Yeah, all that was passed was a letter of support for their Chapter 11 application to the state. There hasn't been a pilot passed at all.
Don, you are right. What they came and told us they didn't want to sell us has changed. And what that was in section 11 and the proposed $200 a unit for 30 years was a surprise to us, and we said we're going to renegotiate, and that's not guaranteed what they're asking for.
Okay, all right, that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Larry Bershew. I live at 1149 Sherwood Avenue, so I'm directly across the street from this plant. Hi, neighbors. In your presentation, it said that the property values around your buildings, the property values go up. Do you think that stacking shipping containers 3 high across the street from my house is going to make my property value go up?
As I mentioned earlier, we're gonna put trees so you won't even notice it, so nothing's gonna be changed. And when you give jobs, highly paid jobs, usually people live in a local area, and if they make more money, they tend to buy houses for more money. So
would you like to buy my house?
I already have a house.
It's a very nice house.
It is?
It is. I've
As
spent the last
neighbors,
40 years
we get to visit each other as neighbors.
I would actually look forward to that. My grandparents are also
You're
from
welcome.
Lyon.
Everybody's welcome. You're welcome, and you know, you never know.
in your presentation, you also mentioned that you are a percentage green energy, and you intend on becoming more and more green as time goes on. But here you are buying a fossil fuel burning plant. How does that help you attain your goal?
Because it's sustainable energy, and you cannot go to wind or solar. So to grow, we are getting a power plant that's connected to the grid, so we can feed the grid. And by buying biogas, we are updating and improving the existing power plant. So we are not changing anything but upgrading. And as I mentioned earlier, the hydrogen pilot program is a great new way to eliminate emissions. So we are trying that with next year. So we are trying to upgrade and go in the direction of being greener. That's our intent. We proved it and demonstrated it in the past, and we are going into that direction.
Beyond that, speaking of emissions, right now the plant's running at, say, 10%, and you're going to crank it up to 100%. That is going to increase the greenhouse gas emissions 1,000-fold, if math suits correctly. There's a daycare half a mile from this facility. There's a library and school 1.2 miles from this facility. People will be impacted by this pollution.
Okay, so historically, since that plant was built up in 1992 and was running at 100% for 20 years, according to my due diligence, there were no complaints whatsoever of any kind from anyone for that plant running. Nothing will be different.
Do we have any records of how many children grew up in that area that now have respiratory illnesses?
So are you going to differentiate between what Jerez put out the first 20 years and us?
No, talking about your plant specifically.
How do you know? You can't, it's an invalid question. You can't even.
It's not a valid question.
It is. Jerez was right with us the entire time.
You're putting out
So
CO2 and
so
methane.
how are you differentiating between what we put out, what Jerez puts out, what Banfield puts out? Right?
Well, apparently the rest closed down in 1994.
No, there's other facilities in there. You can't separate emissions. And I doubt there's any data. Maybe you should find it. Because we don't know where it is.
We don't know.
We've never been approached.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Joseph Kissel, 950 East Robinson Street. I really wasn't planning on speaking tonight, but I think the biggest question really hasn't been asked or addressed tonight. But I just want to say one thing. Thank you for coming and explaining. I think this is what people wanted a long time ago, honestly. Also, this is not a public hearing. I think we still need to hold a proper public hearing where we give people lots of time to present their arguments, learn about it, have experts on the other side, and basically not have people tell us about this who have a financial stake in this deal going on. Also, you know, I think a lot of this is happening because the city isn't in a very strong financial position right now and isn't in a great bargaining position, so it smells a little desperate to me. Not saying it's not a worthy project or anything like that, but that's not, you know, the best place for negotiation. But the question that I really want to know, and I'll just leave after I ask it, is why can't you do a 3-month moratorium? What's going to change? And I haven't heard this, like, why the rush?
So I have deliverable because I'm a public company. We announced in March that we are acquiring that power plant, and we subsequently plan to buy these computers that are arriving, and if I don't run them soon, I'm going to miss my targets, and as a public company, I'm going to fail. And when we announced that publicly in March, we had March, April, we went to June hearing, we went to July hearing, we went to August second hearing, we are going to September hearing. So we've been with the city and the people, the proper people that did the authorization. Everything we've done has been by the law and by the code. We're not doing anything that's illegal, no activity is illegal. The permits are there, they are entitled on that plant. The zoning allows us to put some electrical and some cement pads, okay? and it became a little bit political for some reason. Okay, if it was not political, we would have been down now with the setup. In New York, many setups are being built, and nobody has. But in good faith,
I understand
in good
that.
faith, I was invited, and I said I would be glad.
What would happen if you had to wait another 3 months?
I'll move. I'll go to a different site, but welcome me, because if you don't welcome me, you know. So now you lose the taxes, the income of a city that needs it for a project that's needed.
Isn't it possible that another Bitcoin mining company would come in?
No,
and
if
do the
it
same
doesn't
thing?
go,
This is it. This
the
is
power
our
plant
shot.
is gone, and you never see a power plant alive, because you kill the income at power plant, you kill the opportunity for jobs, good income, and it's servers. It's a cloud computing like everybody has. We're not aliens. And that's why I came, by the way, to present myself, to show you who I am. I'm the founder with my son, and we are normal people, regular people that conduct a business with deliverable. We have the intent to be green, we are sensitive, we are putting all the efforts and the financial efforts to back up our green initiatives. We are doing the best.
I understand that, and I
Mr.
thank
Kissel,
you.
your time
And
is
maybe
up.
you could just be a little more patient with the community as we try and catch up with you.
I appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Gabrielle Richards. I live at 316 Bryant Street. I just have a couple of questions. So the first is, I know that there's a lot of positives to the project, which we love and not for or against. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about some of the negatives or hurdles that the community should prepare for this project.
Considering that it was a running plant, a legal running plant, there are zero negative. It's all upside for the community. I don't see any negative to have a public company coming with a new technology, hiring local people, and I proved it. They are there. They are not. It's not a dream. Have constant load for the grid that needs it because of a lack of industrial power now. They went out of business, so they need it. I think it's very positive.
So that's another question. So you don't sell electricity to the grid, right? Any excess electricity that you have, you don't sell any of it back to national grid?
No, so we have this fast response on demand,
Right.
where
I understand that.
we sign a contract with the grid, and for that reason they don't tag us also. So they give rewards if we are good partners, so they don't tag us. And last week, a pure example, and you can check with National Grid, it's a big company. Last week, every day we closed down our servers to supply the grid, and they were very happy that we were, because we were one of the, 20 megawatt there. That was
Heavy
really,
user, so they ask you to shut down
So we shut down.
during high energy.
Exactly, peak energy, we shut down, and they can cope with the
Right, but you're
demand.
not selling anything back to them, they're just
No.
asking you to turn it off because
We
you're
have a
high
program.
energy user.
You get paid to be
You
in the
get paid.
program. Yes, you do get paid.
Okay, I see. What concerns has the building department brought up as you've been communicating with them for your permits?
Well, the confusion with the building department was that first of all, it needs to get approved by the planning board, which, come to find out, we really didn't need to go that way, because we are zoned for what we're doing.
Okay.
So, been a lot of confusion in regards to that, and it's kind of brought on all these meetings now, really.
That's the only concern that Cos has brought up about this project,
Yes.
is he was confused on the zoning.
Yes, so he made us go to the board.
And why don't you just redevelop American Axle? Why is it so important to go to this new facility?
No, it's an addition.
It's an addition.
Yeah, we are growing as a public company. We are growing. We believe in a long-term blockchain technology positive outcome on a macroeconomic way, and we are growing. And so we are welcome in many states, as you know, Texas, Wyoming, Florida, even, and I repeat it, Eric Adams, who is a Democrat running mayor, you can check it on Google, is welcoming us publicly. He's welcoming blockchain, He wants to be a center, New York should be a center of Bitcoinists.
So
And I quote his word.
You're doing this exact work in American Axle right now, and you're just expanding
Yeah,
it.
we are, and we never had a complaint. We use actually, again, Tom Grady, a resident, did the work there, and I'm very proud of his work. Everybody that comes from the entire country looks at the electrical work, and it's very, very well done.
And have you approached any other municipalities? I'm just wondering, have you had an opportunity to purchase underutilized electrical plant somewhere else?
It's the first time that we have this issue, because usually we don't have any issues.
So you've approached other municipalities and it's gone through without pushback?
What we do is 100% legal. There's no anything illegal. If we are on a zoning that's legal, and we put some electricity there, we don't need to go through a city and commission and all that stuff. This is really a first for us. So that's why I'm here for the first time. I usually do not get involved with that part of the business.
Gabby, your time is up. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For your comments. Are there any other North Tonawanda residents that would like to speak? Come on up, please.
I'm Doug Taylor, 375 Belmont Court East. I was born here in '48 and lived here pretty much ever since. I've smelled the Dura smell. That has nothing to do with this project. I've had the soot from international paper. That has nothing to do with this project. This is a very simple project with a 52 megawatt cogen plant. That's how it was licensed originally. They just found a new use for their electrical power, which involves putting a server farm in. Go out to Lockport, you'll find server farms from Yahoo, huge buildings, takes up a lot of space. This is similar, but on a much smaller scale. The other thing you have to consider, with all the green energy talk that's been going on, is that right now in the state of New York, 50% of our electric power comes from natural gas. Oh, I know a lot of you are thinking, well, we get hydropower here. No, you don't. The hydropower from the Niagara Falls project is fed into the grid. The grid divvies it up. Right now in New York, 50% of the power comes from natural gas, 30% is nuclear, 19% is hydropower, and 1% is solar and wind. Now that's 2019 figures from the state. 2021 figures, Cuomo closed 2 nuclear plants in New York City. He's replaced them with 3 gas-fired power plants. So right now, you got about 58% of your energy comes from burning natural gas. You still have the 19% that's from the Niagara plant and the FDR plant for hydropower. Nuclear is down to like 22%, and they think solar is still going to be less than 1%, and wind might make 1.5% this year. So that's the bottom line. You don't get your power from the hydro plant, you get it from the grid. Now these guys, they've got a fairly small little plant. It's 55 megawatts at peak, I guess. If you compare their plant to the Huntley plant, you all know where the Huntley plant was in North Tonawanda? That was a 780 megawatt plant, 15 times the size of this one. And we put up with the Huntley plant for many years, and you couldn't tell what the Huntley plant put out with coal compared to Duras, compared to IP. I mean, all the other polluters we had in this town. The polluters are gone now. The Huntley plant's gone. And I just have trouble figuring out why everybody wants to complain about the perfectly duly licensed cogen plant, licensed by the state of New York, approved by the DEC, wanted to put a server farm in at their facility. I've been doing, in my job, I do server farms. I did the first one with Microsoft in, I think it was 1995, out in San Jose. And everyone in San Jose, oh, Microsoft, you're putting a server farm in. We love you, Microsoft. Bill Gates, you're wonderful. There's server farms all over the place. Lockport is Yahoo server farms. This is no different. It doesn't matter whether they're doing Bitcoin mining or whatever. If Bitcoins die tomorrow, they've still got a server farm. They can pick up internet transmissions, they can do all kinds of
Mr. Taylor, your time is up. Thank you very much for your comment. Yes, ma'am, come to the microphone and state your name and address, please.
My name is Kathy Pachulo. I live at 575 Christiana Street, North Tonawanda. And I did want to say, after listening to this presentation and hearing the comments, that I had been one of the people on Facebook. I had taken what Austin had put out there, which I appreciate very much, so that we could get more information. And I believe that we have gotten a lot of information here. That and so I did want to say, because I don't use Facebook very often, and I didn't want it to be inflammatory or anything else. The one thing I am taking away from this tonight is that you've got a great public here that wants to be heard, so future things like this might be very mandatory. But in regards to this particular project, after listening to the information, I feel exactly like Doug Taylor does, that this is a legitimate business, and the plant has been here for a long time producing power. It is not changing anything as far as that goes. The supply and demand situation will develop new energies that will help it to develop their green technology that they've been talking about. And so I know that a lot of people think that everybody in this room is against it, and I, for one, am not against this situation. Thank you.
Seeing no more North Tonawanda residents, ma'am, you're next.
Thank you so much. Okay, hello again. My name is Emily Tirana. I am the Director of Organizing and Leadership Development at the Clean Air Coalition, whose address is 52 Linwood Avenue in the city of Buffalo. I'm very grateful for this time to speak, and I appreciate waiting. I appreciate listening to all of the residents here in North Tonawanda. And I have a couple of questions and a lot of answers. But first, I think an important question is, who is an expert, right? When our Digihost was introduced, they were introduced as experts, and of course they are in their field. I think that Claudia is also an expert. I think that my colleague Joel Bernowski is also an expert. I think that this man here from UB is also an expert. And I think that Kathy Pachulo is also an expert. Every single one of us are experts in different things throughout our lives. I'm an expert as a woman, as a mother, as a person who's lost her mother because of the pollution in this community and in the community specifically in Tonawanda. From Tonawanda Coke, from Huntley, from DuPont, from all of these, the amalgamation of them, that no, you can't just point a plant apart and say, that's the one that killed my mother. But it's in the equation. And I think that that should be considered. The next question I have is, what is a Title V air permit? A Title V air permit is a permit that is given by the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, or DEC, for facilities that emit over a threshold of air pollutants, right? Tonawanda Coke was a Title V air permit, had a Title V air permit. Huntley had a Title V air permit. DuPont has a Title V air permit. NOCO has a Title V air permit. And I'm sure that Jerez had a Title V air permit. This facility will continue to have its Title V air permit. What can happen in 3 months? You can go through cooking a third of a baby. You can plant a field of tomatoes and make a delicious sauce, right? You can also do an incredible amount of research, listening, fact-checking, bringing in all of the experts that we need to make the most informed decision possible. And if the decision is that Digihost will move forward, then people will become more satisfied because they will have been listened to, they will have the facts that they need in a form that they need it, and they will feel heard, right? You all have a choice. You have a choice to allow a completely unregulated industry that is new. It is like the Wild West, right? And there were great things that came from the Wild West, and there sure were awful things that came out of the Wild West. But we have a chance to pause, to look at the facts, to do our research, and to figure out what is the right thing to do. And with that, I respectfully say thank you.
Thank you to the council for taking time to listen to us. Thank you for Councilmember Pilek for his leadership on this issue and for sponsoring Local Law 4. I represent Clean Air Coalition of Western New York as well. My name is Joel Bernowski. I live in the city of Tonawanda. I did grow up in North Tonawanda. We do urge you to vote for the local law for the 3-month moratorium. We urge you to accept it into law. And as you've heard tonight, there's just a lot of unknowns around this. We need to find facts. We need to do our homework. The community needs to do their homework. The developer needs to do their homework. There's a lot of unknowns. A couple points I want to touch on. I'll be brief. I'm very hot and very hungry. Renewable natural gas is like an unproven technology right now. Yes, you can do it. We really don't know what the environmental costs are. I have some formal comments I would like to submit to the board for the public record.
They'll be submitted, yes.
Some of them, I do have a citation here, some of them do actually use more carbon than fracked natural gas, which is a huge red flag for us. And finally, our planet is burning. We should not be burning fossil fuels right now. We should be transitioning to renewable energy. And with that, I will yield my time. Thank you.
Hi, thank you. I'm the last one. You're all so close to being free. Thank you so much for giving us the space to speak. My name is Margot Valenti, and I am the staff attorney, so there is one more, for Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper. We did submit our formal comments to this body this afternoon via email, and in those we cited a number of reports and some Earth Justice comments that cite another amount of reports that went to the PSC. So we really implore you to read those. I just wanted to touch on a couple of points, and I will also be very brief. It is so hot, oh my goodness. So we are really looking forward to reviewing the FEEF, the site plan with the amendments, which were missing the first time around, and we're really looking forward to a public hearing on a moratorium. If the New York State Senate thinks a public hearing, or a moratorium is appropriate, I would like to think that this body would be in agreement with that. I know that I heard you say earlier that the environmental assessment forms are available online. They have been extremely hard to find. We finally found them today. When we asked the city engineer previously, we were told to foil them, so we did that, but now they're online. A couple of other points on things that I just heard here. The battery comment. I know everyone, I think you said that it was misreported, but that comment is actually from the minutes of the planning board meeting in a conversation with both the architect and the planning board. So if that's a misreporting, that needs to be corrected at the planning board level in the public forum. The PSC sale has not been approved, and so Digihost is not permitted as a company right now, and I also know that you've heard about the Title V air permit. So the Title V air permit is up for renewal in November. The application is available to be read online. It is in Fortistar's name because the sale has not gone through, and it does show a 30-time increase in carbon dioxide emissions. And for everyone who was wondering, the plant is operating 14 to 20 days per year. That will increase to 365. I think that that's all that I've got, and just another reminder, I think that's it. Just the last piece is that, as a gentle reminder, relying on a fact that a plant existed in 1992 is most certainly not your legally required hard look under seeker. So I do hope that you will do your due diligence as a body and really assess and take the time to assess the potentially adverse environmental impacts. So thank you.
I want to thank Digihost for coming today to give your comments and the staff there. I want to thank the residents for coming and giving their comments too. And I'm sorry I was heavy-handed to Mr. Snitzer, but I will tell you that you were going to ask me if I take a pledge not to take any money from Digihost, and I will make that pledge tonight. And if anyone else would like to also, they feel free to do so.
I'll take the pledge.
Thank you very much.
I wasn't planning to give you anything.
And with that, we're going to adjourn until 9 so we can clean up ourselves.
Thank you, everybody.
Before we continue the meeting.
Good job.
And if anyone wants to stay, we're going to be voting on the actual public hearing. I'm not really sure what the.
If anybody has any other comments on agenda items other than what we just discussed, please come to the microphone and state your name and address. Oh, go ahead. This is only for the agenda items.
Oh, I'm okay. I'm excited.
You're part 2. I'll call you forward though.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, good. Thanks, Mark. With that, we'll go ahead and roll the agenda.
Approval of the minutes of the regular session dated August 3rd, 2021.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Zidzoka. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Tyler. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried.
Proof of publication published 8/3/2021. Legal notice sealed proposals for the Pinewoods Park Improvement Project.
I'll make the motion to receive and file.
I'll second.
I have a motion by myself, a second by Alderman Tyler. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried.
Communications from others, from Austin Tyler, public hearing on a 3-month moratorium on the Bitcoin mining facility and facilities that authenticate blockchain.
So thank you everyone for sticking out the heat today and your comments as well. I think it's pretty clear how the majority of, at least the residents in this room, if there are residents for it, came and spoke, but the majority definitely spoke in one side. And I think the point of this public hearing was really just to hear your voice and give you facts, right? We got facts today, but it takes time to process those and so on. I am disappointed at our local government. I could even include myself in that. I didn't know about the facility until a few weeks back, 5-6 weeks, so on. And I don't really know if others did and so on, but either way, we are supposed to do our due diligence, and that's the point of this public hearing. It's also disappointing because I was told before this entire endeavor that none of them would be supporting this resolution. So to put you guys through hours and hours of this discussion in this heat, just for fun, as I see it, just to, vote against it anyway. So I would be pleasantly surprised if I get a second on this. So I do appreciate it. I think there's a lot of things we have to look into. I hope that maybe it changed some minds through this 3-hour ordeal, but I would like to make a motion to hold a public hearing, hear your comments, get the facts, and hopefully put a 3-month moratorium so we can do our due diligence for the health, safety, welfare of our community.
So Alderman Tyler has basically ruled on a moratorium and
ruled on a public hearing,
a
notice for a public hearing to vote on a moratorium after the public hearing if we see fit. So it's for a public hearing, 7 days notice as required by the law.
Do I have a second?
Also, why 33 months? Also, why 3 months? See, that's why we're going to do that.
Frank, I think 3 months is reasonable. Other communities have done it. We're not asking for 18 months like Plattsburgh did some time ago. We did a 6-month for the solar panels. I think 3 months gives us enough time to review the seeker, which I went over. It's, there's questionable things about their fire plan. I don't know if they spoke to the fire department. We heard a lot of facts from them. It would be good to get another perspective that doesn't have interest in the endeavor. I think we all want a stronger tax base, but, that's not always the main reason we do what we do, right? I mean, for the welfare of the community, maybe it'll be fine in the end. Maybe we could work something out. I think 3 months is a very easy, conservative time to do that.
Do I have a second?
I'll tell you what, I struggle with the fact that if we go out, I'm gonna give you a second, I'm gonna second you. But I'm worried about if we and they come after us, we might be looking at a multi-million-dollar lawsuit that we're about to swallow, and be in a lot of trouble. I'll tell you right now, so we'll see where this goes.
Well, and if we have all these future issues with costs on the city, whether we deplete our property values, whether we have to fix our infrastructure, I mean, it is a gamble, right? This is probably one of the harder decisions we'll have to make.
With that, we will do a roll call. I have a motion by Alderman Tyler, a second by Alderman DiBernardo.
Alderman Schmiegel.
Nay.
Alderman DiBernardo.
Aye.
Alderman Zazoka.
Nay.
Alderman Tyler.
Aye.
And President Pecoraro.
No, it's not been carried. Thank you.
See you in November, Bob. Now you have a lawsuit against the city.
From the clerk treasurer, East Hill Foundation grants dated 2022.
Do I have a motion for the East Hill Foundation grants?
I'll make the motion.
A second?
I've got a motion by Alderman Zazoka, a second by Alderman Tyler. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried.
From the city engineer, approval of resolution to enter into a federal aid local project agreement for the North Tonawanda bike path connection to the Empire State Trail project.
Come on up, Chelsea. You can talk about the next two, the 338 and 339.
This is just to get the contract in place. We're already through final design. The DOT's portion of the funding was for the construction of this project, so we have to sign the contract with them. They broke it into two separate contracts. There was the original connection piece from basically the end of the Riverwalk Trail at Key Bank underneath the Seymour Street Bridge, connecting to the Empire State Trail in the city of Tonawanda, and talking with the DOT with their work that they're doing on the road. On a road, they wanted us to. They wanted to include repaving of the existing trail from Key Bank north to just south of Bratwick Riverside Park. So because it happened kind of after the other project started, that's why there's two separate contracts for the state funding, or the funding that we're going to take DOT. So it's just a proposal or resolution that I need from you guys to say that I can have the mayor sign the contract with the
Great.
DOT.
Thank you, Chelsea. So I'll need a motion for the resolution to enter into the federal aid local project agreement on 338.
I'll second.
I got a motion by Alderman DiBernardo, second by Alderman Tyler. Let's do a roll call on this, please.
Alderman Schmiegel. Aye. Alderman DiBernardo.
Aye.
Alderman Zazoka.
Aye.
Alderman Tyler.
Aye.
President Pecoraro.
Aye, motion's carried. And let's do 339 roll call.
Alderman Schmiegel.
Aye.
Alderman DiBernardo.
Aye.
Alderman Zazoka.
Aye.
Alderman Tyler.
Aye.
President Pecoraro.
Aye, motion's carried.
From the superintendent of water wastewater, approval of the payment of applications for the wastewater treatment plant phase 1 upgrade project.
Jason, come on up and talk a little bit about the project, please, so people are understanding what we're voting on.
Sure. Okay.
Thank you.
So this is just another pay application for the phase 1 project at the wastewater treatment plant. This one is for work that's done by Fry Electric and STC for work that they have done. We have not reached the end of the project, but it's for, this one is mostly for lighting and for just general construction. And then this money will, once it's approved, it goes to EFC. EFC provides the funding for us to send that to these companies.
Absolutely, thank you. Do I have a motion?
I like a motion. Sorry, burned out here.
A motion by Alderman DiBernardo, a second by Alderman Schmiegel. Roll call, please.
Alderman Schmiegel.
Aye.
Alderman DiBernardo.
Aye.
Alderman Zazoka.
Aye.
Alderman Tyler.
Aye.
President Pecoraro.
Aye, motion's carried.